Hello, hello, hello. So excited that you all have joined us today. I'd like to, welcome you if it's morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. So this is like a special edition, a fireside chat with the owners of Bunifu Learning for Life. So we're going to do a series of informal chats throughout the next 6 months because we are starting an initiative that we like to call WorkforceWise. But this particular live event is going to be talking specifically about my story and Maurice's story and how we started the business, and then also about this fundraising campaign we are doing as a small business called WorkforceWise. We're essentially trying to raise $100,000, and we'll tell you why in a few minutes. I do want to tell you that we're really trying to, with this campaign, is really develop today's professionals, and especially around teens and youth. Just to introduce myself, if you don't know already, I host a lot of live events through LinkedIn. Sometimes you see Maurice and sometimes you don't, but I'm Jennifer Dunn. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bunifu Learning for Life. And just a little bit about my background. So I have an education background. I came from the classroom. I worked as a history teacher, specifically high school students, love high school teens. And while I was a teacher, I actually coached track and field. I supported many clubs and organizations around mentoring young girls and supporting just extracurricular activities and leadership experiences for youth. And then I moved into school counseling, where I became a school counselor. I started a high school in Baltimore City public school system in Maryland. And essentially, I worked at a high school that was supported workforce development and provided internships and guaranteed summer jobs for young people to help develop their skills as they entered the workforce. And now I then moved to the College Board, which you all probably heard, the AP, SAT, folks that create testing for college entrance exams. And I supported training and development across the country, also did some international travel for the College Board, and sit on their Big Future career and college app board. So that's just a little bit about me. I now am the CEO of Bunifu, and we're really excited to give you some information today. Just a little bit about Bunifu. I'm going to transition over to Maurice really quickly, but just to give you some information about Bunifu, we are a e-learning solutions company. We provide online digital learning as well as training and development, both virtual and face-to-face, specifically for organizations that support youth. And also we train educators in districts and schools. And we also do a lot of work around nonprofits and business to business organizations. So that just gives you a little bit about our background. And I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Maurice. You're muted, Maurice.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you, babe. Good morning to everyone. I'm Maurice Dunn, co-founder of Bunifu and acting as the chief financial officer. I'm excited about being here, and I'm glad this is a fireside chat because we're located out of Washington D.C., and so we're actually bracing for a snowstorm. So obviously, I'm not in an environment there's a real fire, but at the same time, I think the topic that we're going to talk about today is going to be beneficial. Just some of my background. I have a military background. I was commissioned in the military in 1997 in the Air Force. Graduated from the United States Air Force Academy. I did 10 years in the Air Force. After that 10 years, I came out as a government contractor. I actually was an instructor at a previous agency that I was working at. Did that for a few years, then went into kind of the evaluation piece, and then became a government civilian, and have been a government civilian since 2011. And so my current position, as well as the CFO for Bunifu, I do run a agency within the federal government that does training. So this is dear to my heart as we talk about some of the things that we want to do specifically in the education field. And so I think part of my duties here today is to talk a little bit about, how and the why of Bunifu and the why we're taking on this WorkforceWise initiative and taking our time to try to raise some money to start off what we think will be very beneficial. You'll see there on the screen, there's a picture of our family, and that not so little guy anymore, James, is right there in the middle. He's actually 11 years old. And he really, from our standpoint, was kind of the spark to creating Bunifu back in 2017. And then we took kind of a couple years to get everything situated, and then we really pushed forward in 2019. And of course, COVID hit. But I say he's the spark because he produced 6 values for us that we thought was very important for us to pursue. One, when he was about 3 years old, he had come down with some seizures. And so he was having seizures that he would have up to 200 seizures a day that I had to count. And so we were really concerned at that point, primarily because we're looking at the education scheme. And you can look at us, we're African American. We already knew that there was going to be challenges and obstacles ahead. And now, what would this medical condition, how would it play a role in his education? And so that's when we said, okay, we don't want to just be on the sidelines. We want to be active players. And we decided at that point that Bunifu in our business in e-learning and training solutions was the way to go. So 6 values came from that time period. One, we wanted to be transformative. We wanted to be an organization and a business that created solutions that transform systems. I think we all could agree, most of us in this country are tired of some of the systems that have been around. And so how do we transform those things, and how do we bring new ideas and fresh things to the table? The second thing was being creative, being able to create the new thing before the new thing is even here. And we realize it's a skill set, especially the way how things change so fast now, that people need to have. You have to be creative to figure out what the future is going to bring because things change so quickly. The third thing for us was not ordinary. We didn't want ordinary solutions. We wanted solutions that were outside of the box, which our name, Bunifu, means creative in Swahili. And it also for us meant stuff that was outside of the box, that thing that you don't regularly see, but it has super great impact. The third thing, or the fourth value for us, was being teammates. We understood that there's nothing great that comes with that you do by yourself. There's typically a team. There's a few committed people that make things happen to create the type of impact that changes the world, that transforms the world. Our fifth value statement was being persistent. And there's a picture of James through this period where he's dealing with these seizures. Thank God he's cleared the seizures now, and it's not something we necessarily have to worry about. But at the time, there's a picture where he's actually posing, and he's got this kind of Superman pose or bodybuilding pose. And it showed there that he was persistent as he pushed through these things that he was going through. And it showed us that we also needed to be persistent, which is pretty evident today as we're going through some of the things that are happening now. And then the final thing is anything that we created, we wanted to make sure that it was future focused. And there's another picture of young James where he's sitting with a couple of his buddies, and they're sitting on a step, and it's like a black and white picture. And it really was the future of not only of our community, but also just the country. And we just wanted to ensure that anything that we created was going to be future focused and it's going to be sustainable. And so as we started the business back in 2017, and now we're here in 2025, we now feel like we have one vehicle that may be able to push us to a sustainable solution to provide equal type of education for our students that we all need here, specifically at this time. So with that, that's kind of our story. The WorkforceWise, it is a workforce development solution that we feel like will help transform education as you see it today. So I'll pass it back to Jennifer to continue with the program.
So we want you all to be part of this innovation. And in order for us to launch this new type of platform, we need your support. We need you to give monetarily, donations. We need your support. We are trying to hit $100,000 to start creating this platform. Now, to give you a little bit of more information, this platform is specifically to break down systemic barriers in career readiness for Black and Latinx and low-income teens through a development of a digital platform that will provide students with career education experiences that are immersive, where they can problem solve. But not only that, we want to put in an artificial intelligence overlay where we can provide personalized learning pathways so students can personalize their journey, but also it will be culturally competent and it will provide information for both the educator and the family. We have seen that tools that create an ecosystem for people, for these teens, it will be so much more successful. And so we're essentially asking you to help create opportunities to provide this type of resource for teens that we can build this platform. So, when we were thinking about this platform and the importance, and we know that there is a gap, we really looked at our own journey and we also looked at James's journey. But I do want Maurice to talk a little bit about his educational journey from when he was graduating from high school, going on to choosing a college to where he is today. I think it's really important because there were some opportunity gaps. There were some information gaps. But yet he also had some good things to support him. And so how can we create a platform to create an ecosystem for these young people? So I'm going to go ahead and let you talk, Maurice, about your experience and journey.
All right. I'll jump right into it. So I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was born in Wisconsin and grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. My parents were young when I was born. My mom was 19 and my dad was 20, and they were trying to figure some things out. We ended up moving to Vegas when I was about 6 years old. And so, if you look at statistics for what they typically are, this is probably a classic case of, someone that's probably not going to make it in a sense, right? When you look at some of the statistics. And so, we're kind of starting behind the power curve. But I would say one of the first things that I would say in my journey is even my parents at a very young age, they knew the value of education, both from, them and also, even grandparents. So I would say one of the first, I guess, positives is I always had a good support system. And that support system can come in so many different forms. And so, but in this case, it came from a position of kind of sharing their journey with me and what they felt like would be kind of an equalizer so I could find some level of success. And so education was that thing. So you fast forward, I get through high school, and I have a younger brother and sister. They're 10 years younger. Um, so I get to high school, and I have to make that decision about what college I want to go to. And of course, a lot of the images that, I was kind of familiar with was, playing sports and music and things of that nature. And so sports was a big major factor for me. I loved sports. Always thought, I was going to go pro and do all that sort of stuff. And so probably my number one thing I was looking at, yes, the education piece, but also was looking at, well, do they have a good sports program? Can I go pro from here? Can I, do those sorts of things? Even though as I look back, I definitely didn't have the work ethic, I think, to be a pro. And I maybe didn't even have all the talent to be a pro. Um, but one of the things, again, that I learned from my support system and kind of, which is one of our values, is you got to think outside the box, and you kind of got to do what you think is right for you. And so, you know, Air Force Academy came knocking on the door. They had a pretty good football program. They obviously had a very good education program. I thought I wanted to be a computer engineer at the time. And so it sounded like a really good fit for me. What I would say is kind of lacking in that is that I didn't have a whole lot of information, not all the information to make what I thought was the best decision. I did have a decent counselor that knew a little bit about some things. My parents obviously had situations and things that they could share with me. But the Air Force Academy didn't become solidified until I actually talked to somebody that went to the Air Force Academy and somebody that looked like me. And that was the other piece too, is it wasn't as if, I came up in a pretty diverse area. So I did see different types of people being successful. I'll tell you, I didn't see like a whole lot necessarily of us being successful. My parents were, and so they had a pretty good network. But I was kind of blessed to have that. I don't think everybody had that in their homes and things of that nature. So after meeting this guy from the Air Force Academy, I decided to go there, and I didn't know what I was getting into. And I will tell you, I didn't have a strong work ethic, and I wasn't very good at the time management piece. So my years at the academy were a struggle academically, both on the sports field and in academics. I ended up giving up football after my freshman year. I did have the opportunity to play a little basketball. I gave that up after 2 years because, quite frankly, I had to graduate. And so I really had to get my time management skills down. And so that was another factor of not being actually kind of educated on that as I was coming up, and where other people were doing a heck of a lot better job than I was doing. I wish I would have kind of known some of those things and had a stronger work ethic versus just kind of relying on my talent that I had. And I learned years later that talent gets you to a certain point, but to take yourself to full potential, you got to develop some other skills. And so I ended up graduating from the academy, not at the top of my class. I was basically a 2.0 and go type of person, one of the last people in the room to pick out my career field. And so I got kind of lucky and got into communications, which is basically IT for the Air Force, and been doing that, for the last, 30 years now. But in terms of what I wish I would have had was some more resources, some more information, varying information. And I wish I would just had maybe a few more examples of some other things that I potentially could have gotten into, even in that love of sports, because the only thing I knew in sports was to be a player, right? Not to own the team or, even some of the other jobs that kind of are generated in that sports industry. So if I had a little bit more exposure to some different things, I think those also would have been valuable for my time, coming up. Has it turned out well? Of course it has. Do I want to make it better for the next generation of folks? Yes, I do. And I think those are the things that I would like to have seen. And I really believe that the product that we're creating is going to help solve some of those gaps that I experienced.
So this product or platform, WorkforceWise platform, is really, we want it to be an interactive. When we talk about our values here at Bunafu, we want it to be something that is disruptive, that is transformative, that's not ordinary, that is creative for young people just like they are, and that it provides an interactive learning experience. It's personalized for them. So when they come into the experience, it's not only giving them based on, their personality profile, information about how they do as far as skills, as far as math and English and science and art and all of that. But it also provides students of color where they may not be chosen for particular careers because there are systemic barriers. So also encouraging young people to not only look outside of what they are looking at or what they feel their skill level is, but also providing them a personalized pathway and plan to get there. And then when we talk about immersive experience, we really think it's very, very important that there's some gamification, that students are, it's like choose your own adventure. And they are thinking through different scenarios. So they're on the job training as they go through this particular platform. And of course, right now we're just in concept, and we need donations to actually bring this to life. Bunafu has done a lot of work with very large districts, especially districts that have students of color, specifically Black students and Latinx and low-income students. We also feel the platform should have family engagement resources and educator tools to help support and guide students. So I'm gonna go ahead and yeah.
Jennifer, real quick, I got a question for you. And I know, we got a limited time, but I think it's valuable that people hear the perspective from an educator, kind of coming up in the same time, a little bit after I came up. You're in education, and you spent some time in Baltimore City. Can you explain how you saw it from an educator perspective in terms of when we look at these students that are looking for opportunities for their families? What were some of the gaps? What were some of the things that you saw that, man, I wish I would have had as an educator?
Well, first of all, I was a school counselor, and my job was primarily to get students to go to a 4-year college, to get financial aid. It was not to prepare for the workforce or go to any other type of pathway that did not require a college degree. And I did not have any training or exposure to, well, what you talked about, IT careers, and what are the pathways if a student is not going to a 4-year school. And even exposure to healthcare professions that might be outside of nursing or a nursing assistant. What types of careers could students get? And so as an educator or as a counselor, if I don't have the knowledge, how can I properly advise my students to help them navigate? But not only that, what types of skills do they need to be prepared? Because ultimately, high school is what I need to do to prepare to get workforce ready. And then how do I know what employers need? Yes, I was very fortunate to be at a school that provide internships, but how do I really prepare students for that? And then how do they get real good job experience? And so I'm hoping that through WorkforceWise, this new platform, that it could not only give students information, but we could give real-time updates and provide a dashboard for educators to help support their students as they're going through the journey.
Thank you. That's good stuff.
So one of the other things is like, why is this important? Of course, you got to pull up some stats and some facts, right? So first of all, you know, when you look at these populations, 19% of Black and 23% of Latino students have access to career development and resources. And then also, we're trying to break down geographical and economic barriers to career guidance. And we feel if there's an app on a phone or a desktop, their students can actually access 24/7. It takes away where I have to go here for an internship, or I have to go here to hear, you know, information about this. What can we do to provide access to students? Also, integrating AI technology and creating a way in which we can take the knowledge. Boonafoo, we've worked with lots of districts and students, and we've created a lot of workforce type of courses where we understand what is needed, but how can we then personalize that information, make it culturally responsive to ensure that it's relevant and personalized for the teen. Also, family and educator resources, we already talked about that, but also the platform will drive 85% increase in career readiness in building generational wealth. Because ultimately, we want to help students, if they get better skills, they get better information and knowledge. We ultimately want that to then translate into legacy, into generational wealth. So I know we're almost out of time, but I do want to, these are some frequently asked questions that we get all the time. We're going to give you a QR code where you can actually access a lot of this information that we have. And so you'll be able to see the frequently asked questions. And we really need, this is a call to action, is to donate. We want to hit our $100,000 goal so we can create this platform for students, this WorkforceWise. There is a QR code that's there that you can take with your phone and you can scan. And also, I wrote something, and I'm going to actually read it, so my head's going to be down. I won't be looking at the camera, but I just wanted to leave you with a couple of thoughts. There is a lot going on in the world. And when we talk about Black and Latinx and low-income students and vulnerable communities, right now, we're not providing the supports for them, and things are being taken away. And so I really want to read just this last piece because this WorkforceWise is very important to us. And I think about me as a history teacher. I was a history teacher a long time ago. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of history. But just to close out, I want you to think, drawing from the foundational principles of American democracy, that all are created equal, with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we believe that WorkforceWise can confront a stark reality that career opportunities remain far from equal, much like how the 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendment, right to vote, a right to be, because we're born in this country, that we are citizens of this country. That those amendments progressively expanded democratic participation. Our mission is to democratize access to career development. So just like as the preamble to the Constitution speaks from forming a more perfect union, WorkforceWise represents our contribution to that ongoing work, ensuring that America's promise of opportunity extends to all its people, not just some. Because when we fulfill this promise, we just help individuals with strengthening our democracy through economic empowerment and build a more competitive nation through diversity of thought and talent. please help us with making our goal. Scan the QR code to help support this work. And we'll see if we can put a link in the comments so you can access the comments. And we're going to actually close out. Maurice, do you want to just say anything to just bring us to a close, or are we good?
Yeah, I'll just say that, and there's stats all over the place. This initiative is we're trying to skill our workforce here in our communities and here in our country. So this is an effort that we all need to probably think about and put some action to. So this is our little piece of the world. This is what we feel is a good solution to help after that. And so anyone that's interested, even if it's just to get some information about what we're doing, please reach out, contact us. If you need us to speak to some folks or get some people excited about what we're doing, we can do that as well. So we're excited. We feel like this is going to help not only our son, our community, but our country in general, and the world globally. I mean, that is our big time vision. So I thank you for taking the time to listen in. And if there's something you have a question out, please reach out to us. That's all I got. Thanks, babe.
All right.